what's up everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today is a pretty special day. Goes the 4090, the GeForce RTX 4090 just got released, and I actually have one. I have the, even the box is big, right? I have the ASUS TUF gaming GeForce RTX 4090 here, and today in this video we're gonna be checking it out. How does it fare in some popular games, and I'm actually gonna be comparing it to my old RTX 3090. So should be pretty interesting. I'm gonna run all the tests in 4K resolution, maximum detail. So should give you a pretty decent idea. Of course, there's a ton of other reviewers out there doing all sorts of other games, so yeah, this is just my own take. I might add some benchmarks down the line into my library of benchmarks, but I didn't really have a lot of time doing this video because I wanted to get the video out as soon as possible, so I kept the size of the benchmarks pretty low, right? But still, I'm gonna test it in some pretty neat games like CYBERPUNK 2077. So first of all, let's check out how this thing actually fares in all sorts of games, because the TUF gaming version will cost you around $2,000 to maybe even like $2,500 or euros, so it is a pretty expensive card, but if it's good, then yeah, why not, right? Because this has to be the best video card ever made in the world, or something like that, right? So yeah, first things first, right? What does the 4090 actually bring us? Well, if we count out the absolutely bananas 24 gigabytes of GDDR6X memory, then we do find third generation Raytracing cores from here and DLSS 3, which if a game can actually take benefit from those things, it can help massively if you enable those things, right? So yeah, I was really eager to see how it fares in games, or in a game like Cyberpunk, right? So I'm gonna show you guys the results now. So my benchmarking system here is the AMD Ryzen 7 7700X, which is an absolutely phenomenal CPU right now out there, and yeah, couple that with some DDR5 memory, and we should have a pretty blazingly fast testbed here to compare both of these cards. So how much faster is the 4090 from the 3090, right? So coming to Cyberpunk 2077, a game that can, you know, actually kill even the toughest of cards out there, I had a plan. Test out the 3090 and 4090 in different ways, not just, you know, 4K or something like that, right? But yeah, DLSS enabled, Raytracing enabled, disabled, and stuff like that. Should be pretty interesting, right? So, firstly, I ran the test at 4K, ultra detail, no ray tracing, no DLSS, and got an average frame rate of 40 frames per second, compared to the 3090 that got 30 frames per second. Not as big of a difference as I thought it would be, but it's, you know, 10 frames per second more. Now, when I enabled ray tracing, the FPS dipped to just 19 on the 3090, while on the 4090 it could stay around 35 frames per second. The 3090 was absolutely unplayable at this frame rate, but the 4090 felt totally fine, because, you know, most of us have been playing console games at 30 frame rate cap for ages, right? So getting over that with ray tracing in Cyberpunk was fine, but I was definitely expecting more. So in comes DLSS 3, right? So I enabled DLSS on the ultra performance, so the highest performance setting possible, and 129 frames per second, which is pretty darn amazing, right? So you're wondering, oh man, the 3090, can it get like 80, 70 or something like that? The 4090 is so much faster, right? Well, the 3090 got 112, so it's not that far off actually. But okay, let's enable ray tracing and DLSS and see how it goes then, right? So the 4090, 87 frames per second, and when I switched in the 3090, 78 frames per second. So they're pretty much identical in my opinion. It's like a couple of frames here or there, not too much frames, right? And yeah, I definitely was expecting more from a 4090 because you're paying like double the amount of a 3090, right? The 3090's prices are like plummeting right now, and also, you know, you can't mine cryptocurrency that well. You can't mine Ethereum anymore, right? So all these 3090s are coming in masses back to you know, regular gamers, right? And everybody just wants to sell them as cheap as possible. So the 3090 second hand would be pretty cheap. Definitely when the 4090 now comes into play as well. So yeah, was definitely expecting more. And Cyberpunk is a game, you know, that, you know, really pushes the video cards to their limits. Kind of what, you know, Crysis did back in 2007, right? Pretty much, right? So I moved on to my second game that I chose, and that was Elden Ring. And Elden Ring is just like one of the games of the decades or something like that, because I've never played the Souls-like games before, and Elden Ring was my first game, went in blind and was just absolutely blown away. Made it all the way to the end with my two-handed sword, killed some bosses like 6 hours straight non-stop. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to see, because this game is an absolutely massive game, absolutely great game, and a beautiful game, right? So I did a test there and was kind of shocked, kind of disappointed, because it seems that it has a frame rate lock. So both of the cards were locked at 60 frames per second at maximum detail 4K. So if you want to play Elden Ring, 3090 is as good as a 4090. I might look around, maybe there's a way, you know, to disable the frame rate lock, but yeah, 60 was what I got from it. And lastly, well, actually not lastly, but we're gonna come to now Grand Theft Auto 5, which is still to this day really popular game out there. So a lot of gamers out there really wanna know how good is a 4090 versus a 3090 on a decent AMD system. And yeah, the results, again, a little bit surprising in my opinion. So 4K rate, maximum detail, ran the benchmarks, and the 4090 got an average frame rate of 131 frames per second. And wanna know what the 3090 scored? 122. So like less than 10 frames per second better. Yeah. I mean, I guess, you know, Grand Theft Auto is more CPU bound, I guess. I don't know. It was, yeah, again, kind of a bummer to see such a little difference from these two cards. And yeah, now lastly coming to one of my own favorite games, which is of course Path of Exile. The greatest action RPG game out there in my opinion. A game where most of the time you don't actually play the game, but open this thing called POB and fiddle with some graphs and think, man, that's gonna be an epic build, and then you die like trash. But anyway, yeah, I really wanted to see how does a 4090 fare in a game like Path of Exile versus a 3090 in a really new DDR5 AMD Ryzen 770 700X system, right? And the results are pretty interesting, I guess. First thing I did, everything to the maximum detail, 4K resolution, and went into a delve node, just a random delve node, and got an FPS of 109. and that was on a 4090. Now I put in the 3090 and I got a frame rate of 96, which is, you know, pretty much the same, right? Well, not the same, but it's still, it's different, but still the same, right? There's not a huge amount of frame rate difference going on here. Now, I did see someone in Reddit mentioning that hey, if you want to test this thing, go into a D16 100% delirious juiced map, right? So that's what I actually did. And I had a pretty decent build right now in this Calandra Lake of Calandra League, right? I have a Venomshire build here, and I went into a D16 fully choosed 100% delirious map, and yeah, the average frame rate was 60, then 40, then 19, then back to 60, then down to 40 and back to 60 again. I mean, about what I was expecting. I did pop in the 3090 afterwards, and it was pretty much the same, but I did see a little bit lower frame rates, like into the lower 10 frames per second, while the 4090 managed like 19. There's sadly no real difference here. Anyway, those were the tests that I did manage to run today here for you guys. I mean, in the future, maybe I'll add like Red Dead Redemption, Forza Horizon or something like that. But yeah, at the moment, these games were the ones that I managed to run in time for the review to come public on day one, pretty much, right? Anyway, those were the tests that I managed to run here. I didn't have a lot of time reviewing here, but I managed to get in, you know, Cyberpunk and Grand Theft Auto 5, one of the better games out there, and also Elden Ring, which was sadly, you know, locked at 60 frames per second for some reason. Maybe I'll try to add like Red Dead Redemption 2 and Forza Horizon into my bag of benchmarks. So yeah, let me know down in the comments what you think of that. But yeah, looking at the benchmarks, the 3090 versus the 4090, it's not that much faster, and considering it's over twice as more expensive, yeah, it's kinda hard to recommend 4090 at the moment. But if you have the money and you want the best card out there, this thing is definitely it. But should you get the ASUS TUF gaming card? That's the question, right? So yeah. Benchmarks for the 4090 actually came out like a day ago for the, you know, the regular NVIDIA version, right? But now that we have the NDAs have lifted from the other manufacturer cards, right? I have the ASUS TUF version. So how good was it, right? Should you buy it? How well has ASUS done with their brand new TUF series 4090 or 4000 series cards, right? And for the 4090, I can say that this thing is freaking amazing. Like, ASUS has done an absolutely phenomenal job here. All the design team back at wherever they are, right? They've absolutely blown it out of the water into my PC. But it's oh god. It was really hard to find anything bad to say about it, except that it was really humongous, like actually huge. And I don't mean huge, I mean it is freaking huge. The guy, if you really want to buy this card, definitely take out the ruler and measure your case, because this thing is massive. So I compared it to a regular, like an RX 5600, I think, AMD's 5600, which is like a regular video card, right? A decent mid-range card. Absolutely dwarfs that thing. So then I took my 3090 out and compared it to that, which is the 3090, the ASUS ROG 3090, is freaking huge. Absolutely dwarfed it. The heatsink, the fan, everything is absolutely massive here. But the interesting thing here, if you can see, is that the PCB of the 4090 here, the TUF 4090, is actually really small, really nice, tight and compact, but it just has an absolute unit of a heatsink, of a cooling solution. And this cooling solution shows. Now, It has 3 AXIAL TECH fans on the heatsink as well to help further cool down the card, and the fans stop spinning if the card's temperature reaches 50 degrees or below. So the fans only spin up when the card goes over 55 degrees Celsius, which is really amazing because it preserves the lifespan of the card, of the fans, right, which tend to die over time usually. So not the case really with ASUS's cards, because when you're, you know, browsing the web or something like that, the video cards fans are just totally passive. They don't spin at all, which is really amazing. And the card itself is really quiet as always. There's also a mechanical switch on the card. You can put it into the performance mode or the quiet mode. The performance mode, the fans will be a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more louder, but the card will be a little bit cooler all the time, right? But the main thing about this cooling solution is that after I did all the gaming benchmarks, right, and I came back to GPUs to check what the maximum temperature reached on the 4090. Take a guess, like 80, 78, no, 65. Didn't go over 65 degrees Celsius, and my room temperature is like 22 degrees. It's pretty hot in here, and it didn't go over 65. And it wasn't loud. It wasn't loud at all. I was like absolutely blown away. What an amazing job from ASUS's team on the TUF card. So I've actually always praised their TUF series for a couple of years now, I guess. But they really, year after year, you know, just nail it, even with the TUF series, which is not their flagship model. The flagship models are the ROG, the ROG models, right? But the TUF model here is absolutely perfect, and it's cheaper. It is cheaper than the ROG as well, and also has some ASUS Aura Sync going on it as well, in terms of a TUF logo, which is pretty neat, I guess. The design itself is pretty nice, box shape, and also has a nice backplate. Yeah, I mean, overall, this card is absolutely perfect. So, in my opinion, I am going to be giving the ASUS's TUF Gaming GeForce RTX 4090 a 10 out of 10. This is an absolutely perfect card. You can't go wrong if you're looking for one of the best 4090 cards out there. So, yeah. That's gonna conclude my quick little review here. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and if I left something out, leave them down below in the comment sections. I'll try to answer them, and yeah, otherwise I'm just gonna edit the entire video now, and hopefully I'll get the ROG for 4090 soon as well. It'll be interesting to see, you know, what exactly is the difference versus the TUF version, right? Because the TUF, it looks good, and you know, maybe there's not as much RGB, yeah, but it's just absolutely perfect card. Anyway, that's gonna be it from me right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll be seeing you soon, guys. Ciao for now.